The most dangerous lie about scams is that you need some brilliant criminal to fool you. But the truth, and this is proven by behavioral science, is that scammers don't need to be brilliant. They just need you to be human, busy, tired, or emotional, for about 30 seconds. So in this explainer, we're going to do a forensic deconstruction of the modern scam playbook. We're not just going to look at what they do. We are going deep to understand why their tactics are so brutally effective on our brains. And I'm going to give you a precise blueprint to dismantle their attack from the inside out.
So let's start right there by taking that myth apart, because it is the single most dangerous idea out there. The belief that you have to be gullible or maybe not so smart to fall for a scam. Why is that so dangerous? Well, it's the criminal's most powerful weapon, because it gives us all a false sense of security. We think, oh, that could never happen to me. And right then, our guard drops. It also creates this awful sense of shame for people who do become victims, which stops them from reporting the crime and allows these guys to just keep operating in the shadows. The reality, as science shows us, is that these scammers don't have to be masterminds. They just need you to be, well, you. They're not trying to outsmart you when you're at your best, focused, rested, and rational. No, they are hunters. They're waiting for that moment when you're distracted, trying to answer an email while juggling 3 other things. Or maybe you're just exhausted after a long day at work. That's the window they're looking for. It's got nothing to do with your intelligence, it's all about your state of mind. So, our mission today is to give you a true forensic understanding of their entire system. We're going way beyond the simple tips like, don't click on strange links. By the time we're done here, you're going to be armed with their exact playbook. You'll be able to recognize the psychological tripwires, you'll see the attack developing in real time, and you'll have a concrete strategy to just shut it all down before it ever gets off the ground. Okay, first things first. Let's dive into the environment where these scams don't just survive, they absolutely thrive. We have to understand the fundamental problem of modern life, the very reason our brains are so vulnerable in the first place. It's the world we're all swimming in every single day. Just think about your average day for a second. You are absolutely bombarded with texts, emails, social media pings, work messages. It's a flood. And to function, you have to place a certain amount of trust in it all. Is that email from your boss real? Is that text from Amazon legit? Your brain, just to cope, creates these mental shortcuts. Psychologists call them heuristics. We make constant snap judgments. This looks official, or this person sounds like they know what they're talking about. This isn't a weakness, it's a survival mechanism. And that right there, that cognitive setup our brains need to run on autopilot, that is exactly what the criminals target. We basically have 2 systems of thinking. A fast, intuitive, emotional one, and a slow, deliberate, logical one. Scammers know we spend about 95% of our day running on that fast autopilot system. So they design their attacks specifically to exploit those automatic emotional shortcuts that we all rely on. And the cost of this vulnerability? It is staggering. Last year alone, fraud losses hit $10 billion in the US. That's almost $27 million lost every single day. And what's so critical to understand here is that the biggest driver of that number wasn't some sophisticated hack. No, it was attacks that preyed on our very human emotions, our sense of duty, our urgency to fix a problem, and most powerfully, our fear. So here's the core issue, this fundamental mismatch. Our brains are socially programmed for a high-trust world, one that evolved over thousands of years of face-to-face interactions. We're literally wired to cooperate and trust people who seem like they're in charge. But now, we're operating in a digital world where that authority, that trust, can be perfectly and cheaply faked. It's a dangerous asymmetry. Our trust is instinctual, but their impersonation is calculated. And this gets to the absolute heart of it. Their primary weapon isn't some malicious code or a complex virus. It's a story, a carefully constructed narrative that's designed to completely bypass your logical mind. It's engineered to make you scared or feel obligated or just plain panicked enough to drop your logical guard, even for a moment. And a moment is all they need. Okay, so now let's pull back the curtain on the actual playbook. We're going to break this thing down stage by stage, just like a criminal analyst reviewing a case file. Because once you understand the structure of the attack, you can spot it happening a mile away. These are not random acts. They are a predictable, repeatable sequence. Look at this. This isn't random. It is a precise, multi-stage criminal script that's been refined over thousands and thousands of attempts. Notice the progression. It starts passively, with targeting, then it moves to building a believable story, the pretext.
From there, it's all about building rapport in the grooming stage, and only after that foundation is set do they introduce the threat with the hook, force the extraction, and then plan their exit. Let's walk through each one.
The attack almost always kicks off with the pretext. This is a plausible story, and it's built from little breadcrumbs of information they can easily find about you online. For example, they might see on LinkedIn that you work for a certain company or that you bank with a specific bank. They use that little nugget of data to craft a believable reason for contacting you, so the whole thing feels legit from the very first second. Their only goal here is to get past your initial "who is this?" filter.
Then comes the grooming phase. This is where they establish a relationship. And notice, they're not making demands yet. They're building trust. A really common tactic here is something I call weaponized helpfulness. They'll pretend to be helping you with a problem you didn't even know you had, like a supposed security breach on your account. This taps into our natural instinct for reciprocity, that powerful psychological trigger that makes us feel obligated to someone who's helped us. Okay, and now we come to the crucial pivot in the entire operation. Everything up to this point has just been the setup. The soft, helpful approach is about to transform into the attack itself. This is the moment the script completely flips. And bam, the hook snaps shut. A sudden, serious, high-stakes threat gets dropped in your lap. Your bank account has been compromised and funds are being withdrawn right now. Or there's a federal warrant out for your arrest. This language is designed to do one thing and one thing only: trigger a massive fear response, light up your brain's alarm center, and totally overwhelm your rational mind. And from that moment, the escalation is swift and deliberate. They'll try to move you off a monitored channel like your work email and onto your personal cell phone. That's to isolate you. They will absolutely use technology like VoIP spoofing, so the incoming call looks like it's coming from your bank or a government agency. And finally, they will impersonate someone with undeniable authority, a fraud investigator, a law enforcement officer, to maximize the pressure. And this really shows the tactical shift in their approach. The whole process just flips. The polarity of the conversation gets reversed. They go from establishing trust to demanding obedience. They're no longer the helpful guide from the grooming phase. Now they're an authority figure giving you direct, non-negotiable commands under extreme pressure. The power dynamic is totally inverted. This is the moment the entire scam is built to create. This is the psychological choke point. They have successfully triggered your emotional, reactive brain, your fight or flight system. And in doing so, they have deliberately hijacked your logical, rational brain and shoved it to the sidelines. You are now in a state where you are primed to react, not to think. Now comes the extraction. Using immense pressure from these fake deadlines, you have to do this in the next 10 minutes or your money is gone, they force you into an immediate and, crucially, a non-reversible financial action. They demand payment through wire transfers, crypto, or gift cards for one specific reason. Unlike a credit card, these methods are basically untraceable and irreversible. Once that money is sent, it is gone. And finally, the exit. After the money's sent, they have one last move to make sure they get away clean. They'll often tell you not to talk to anyone, not family, not your bank, not the police, because this is all part of a sensitive, ongoing investigation. This is a manufactured gag order. It's designed to keep you in a bubble of confusion and fear just long enough for them to secure the money and disappear without a trace. So that's the playbook. But the big question is still just sitting there, right? Why does this work so well, even on people who are normally really smart and vigilant? To answer that, we have to look away from the computer screen and look inside our own skulls. The answer is all about how we're wired to respond to pressure. And let me be crystal clear here. The answer has nothing, and I mean nothing, to do with intelligence. It has everything to do with how this system methodically weaponizes three fundamental glitches in our human psychology. This is not a flaw in your character. It's a direct attack on your brain's operating system. First, and this one is so powerful, scammers exploit what's called authority bias. We are deeply conditioned from childhood to do what people in charge tell us to do. I mean, think about how we instinctively react to a police officer or a doctor. When someone projects authority, our brain's default program is to follow instructions, not to question them. Scammers just create a digital illusion of this authority with a fake title and a confident tone of voice. Next, they create cognitive overload. You can think of it like a denial of service attack, but on your brain. They'll just flood you with technical jargon, complex legal-sounding phrases, or details that change from second to second. This is intentional. It's designed to overwhelm your working memory. And when your brain is overloaded and confused, it instinctively looks for the simplest path out. And the simple solution they offer is always compliance. And the final weapon in their psychological arsenal is urgency. The whole act now or you'll lose everything pressure is a direct trigger for our primal fight or flight response. This is the kill switch for rational thought. A flood of adrenaline and cortisol effectively shuts down the logical, critical thinking part of our brain, and it puts the emotional, reactive part in complete control. At that point, you're not thinking, you're just reacting. So when you put all of this together, you can really see the trap. The whole attack is engineered to create this perverse emotional loop. They invent a crisis, and then they position themselves as the only person who can guide you safely out of it. It's a bit like a micro-scale Stockholm syndrome. You become emotionally dependent on the very criminal who is attacking you, because in that moment of manufactured panic, they feel like your only lifeline. Okay, so we have been the analyst. We have deconstructed the attack. We understand the environment, the playbook, the psychology. Now we shift roles. Let's build the defense. And the really good news is the defense is much, much simpler than the attack. And this is probably the most important thing to remember about protecting yourself. Your best defense doesn't come from an app or some piece of antivirus software. It comes from a simple, repeatable, and incredibly powerful mental procedure. It's about building a mental firewall through better habits, not just a technological one. The very first step is pattern recognition. I want you to burn this into your memory. Almost every single financial scam has this three-part signature. First, a demand for extreme urgency. Second, a demand for absolute secrecy. And third, a request for an unconventional payment method. Gift cards, crypto, a wire transfer. When you see those three things together, that is the unmistakable fingerprint of fraud. A legitimate organization will never, ever demand all three. So, the moment you spot those red flags, you deploy the safe exit strategy. It is a simple three-step protocol to take back control. First, recognize that feeling of panic not as a reason to act, but as the signal of an attack. That feeling is your alarm bell. Second, state firmly, I need to verify this independently. You don't argue, you don't explain, just state it. And third, hang up. Disengage completely. Then, on your own terms, you verify by looking up the official published number for that bank or agency and calling them directly. And one final point on defense. Even if you successfully dodge the scam, please report the attempt. It is so critical. Think of it as providing intelligence to the good guys. Document every detail, the number they called from, the name they used, the story they told, and report it. This data is invaluable. It helps law enforcement map these criminal networks and build cases that can actually dismantle these operations and protect others. All right, let's bring all of this home. Let's distill everything we've talked about into one powerful protective mantra. This is the single most important tool you can take away from our time together, something you can use every single day. Because what social engineering proves, more than anything else, is that the criminals are hacking the human, not the computer. The critical vulnerability they're looking for isn't in our software or our passwords, it's in our own hardwired emotional response system. That's the real target. And that means the only way to win is to take back control of your own response. You win by refusing to participate in the script they've so carefully written for you. Their entire complex system of manipulation is designed to lead to one single moment of impulsive action. The moment you pause, the moment you step off their path and decide to verify for yourself, you have broken their entire system. You've already won. So if you remember only one thing, let it be this protective mantra. Make this your automatic ingrained response to any unexpected high-pressure demand. The moment you feel that manufactured urgency, that pit in your stomach, recognize it for what it is. It's an alarm bell. It means you are being psychologically hijacked. Hang up, verify independently. This single principle is your shield. It is the simple, powerful habit that defeats their complex manipulation every single time.